German Business Daily reported on today, March 31st, that France has become the first European country to sign a trade agreement allow payments in Chinese yuan instead of US dollars and euros. French state-owned enterprises signed a liquefied natural gas purchase agreement with China, which stipulates payment in yuan. This agreement demonstrates that the trend of de-dollarization has spread from other regions of the world to Europe. This week, China and Brazil reached an agreement to abandon the US dollar in trade settlements. On Wednesday, the Brazilian government announced that it had reached an agreement with China and would no longer use the US dollar as the intermediary currency, opting instead for their respective local currency for trade settlement. Now, China and Brazil, the largest economy in Latin America, can directly conduct large-scale trade and financial transactions exchanging the yuan for the Brazil real. This is the first step for a Latin American country to abandon the US dollar in the United States' backyard and can be considered a historic move. Moreover, this is an important step towards de-dollarization for a significant country in another key international region following the initiation of yuan transactions in Russia. Brazilian President Lula is scheduled to visit China on April 11th, accompanied by a delegation of 240 business representatives heading to Beijing. Bilateral trade relations will be the focus, with major trade items including Brazilian exports of beef, soybeans, iron ore, and coffee. The US dollar has lost its battleground in Brazil, the large economy in Latin America, which sets an example for the region. Turning to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, the region's largest player, has sold the most US treasury bonds in the past month. Moreover, for the first time, the country has applied for loans in Chinese yuan to obtain more yuan for trade and investment. The reduction of reliance on the US and the dollar and the increase in reliance on China and the yuan once again signifies a new trend in the Middle East, the new endpoint of de-dollarization. In Southeast Asia, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations has begun discussing abandoning the use of US dollar, euro, yen, and pound as international reserve currencies in favor of local currencies for trade settlement. However, of the 5 international reserve currencies, only Chinese yuan has not been excluded. Singapore, which has always leaned towards the United States, also supports this decision. Furthermore, Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong's visit to China expressed a clear direction for the future, moving away from the West and towards the East. In the realm of currency, the likelihood of abandoning the US dollar in favor of Chinese yuan or other form of payment is quite high. In Russia, the use of Chinese yuan has increased more than 80 times in the past year, and further growth in the future is an indisputable trend. Like Russia, Iran, Brazil, France, and Saudi Arabia, countries are moving towards using local currencies and the Chinese yuan. De-dollarization is no longer a concept, but an action or a reality now. The European Union may be the last stronghold of the US dollar. However, following the visit of German Chancellor to China, French President Macron is scheduled to visit China from April 5th to 8th, and Italian Prime Minister Meloni is considering a visit as well. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is visiting China now. It seems that China is once again becoming a center of global attention, as it was during the Tang and Han dynasty. US media sourly commented that European leaders are scrambling to book flights to China. The UK, which has already left the EU, still maintains a hardline stance against China. However, seeing the US actively seeking a visit to China, it remains to be seen whether the UK can maintain its position. The global currency status of the US dollar, which began after World War I, is being undermined by the current Democratic administration. Elon Musk has stated that US policy is too aggressive, causing other countries to want to abandon the US dollar. In fact, the predatory nature and loss of trust in the US dollar are the root causes of its decline. Currently, several high-ranking US officials are urgently communicating with China to seek help, which is also an ongoing, quiet reality. The trends of de-dollarization and the internationalization of the Chinese yuan have been discussed in our column since last year. Surprisingly, the developments have been happening and progressing faster than anyone could have imagined.